Welcome to the MVP Show. Today we go down under and chat with Natraj. I'd love to pronounce his last name, but that's just not going to happen. He's an MVP living in Melbourne, Australia, and a big believer in open source and community-driven development. If there is a specific MVP, past or present, you'd like me to have on the show, please let me know. I'd love to get him on. For full show notes, visit nz365guide.com/49. Now let's get on with the show. Hey Natraj, welcome to the MVP Show.
Hey Mark, how are you?
Good. Good to have you on the show. You're pretty famous in the dynamics circles with your little app that kind of is the unlock key to so much parts of or so many areas in dynamics.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's a bit of a mixed bag, I guess. I think some the app itself is called LevelUp. So some people, I think, who are power users or developer, they just really like it because it helps them to. It kind of improves their productivity because they just can look at everything in the same page. But I think from sysadmin side or people who want to lock down the areas, they just don't like this app or like this one particular functionality of this app where they can unhide and kind of like enable. But it's all. But I am my kind of angle on that is it's just basically allowing you to do what is supported. You can basically just type it up on the console yourself. So it's kind of like but yeah, it's kind of like got a lot of downloads. Like
15,000.
Yeah.
I just checked this morning. 15,000 you're at. That's pretty amazing.
So it's kind of like a side project that I started, and then it just kind of took off. And then I used to use Sonoma Partners' app, and then every Sonoma Partners app was pulled from the. It's basically, I think it's one of the few. I think there's one more app I think in the Chrome Play Store, the Chrome Store. So yeah, so it's pretty good that it's getting a lot of community support in that area.
Yeah, just to clarify, the reason for that Sonoma app not being available anymore is that they got purchased by EY, and that wasn't part of their scope going forward. So my understanding that is why that app was taken down.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can reproduce it, as in because I doubt it's ever going to return as such now that under the company's under new ownership is. So where do you live in the world? What do you do when you're kind of not doing dynamic stuff?
So I'm based in Melbourne, Australia. So I've been here for the past. I just came here in 2003, so been here pretty much most of my adult life, I think, because I've been here in the city more than I've been in India. So it's kind of like my home now. So pretty much when I am not doing dynamics. I don't really do much like outdoor activity or I like to do. It's kind of like some strange things I like to do. I guess like strange, but I just like to do plane spotting. Probably like drive to the airport and then just kind of like sit there, park my car, and kind of watch the planes.
Do you have any pets?
Oh, I don't have any pets. No, it's just like it's just a commitment. The commitment part where you have to. Because I just feel really bad if I have to, because I live quite a bit far away from the city. So just the very thought of locking up or leaving the dog in the backyard and kind of like going away for 10 to 12 hours, I don't really feel comfortable doing that. So I just never wanted. I like pets, but the reason I just want to give like a good quality of life and everything. So I just never really kind of proceeded with it.
Yeah, agreed. So what about children then? Same reason?
Yeah.
Or do you have children?
I have a daughter. Yeah, she keeps me occupied all the time. But I just keep it. I just make it a point that I just spend, no matter what I am, how busy it is at work or like things I want to kind of experiment with after I come back. I just want to, because this is a phase where they're just growing up and they're so keen to see you. I think it's pretty much like it's kind of like, I don't know, you can't equate them with dogs, but it's kind of like that whole kind of affection and this kind of unbridled joy, and they don't really restrain themselves when they see you, and they're like so happy to see you, and they're smiling. So it's kind of like good to come home after a stressful day, and then you just see them like with smiles, and they just run towards you. So it's kind of nice to feel that.
Totally awesome. So why did you choose to move to Melbourne of all places? And you've the thing about Melbourne that it's got great food and cafe life and culture and that, but there's no ocean. There's no ocean right on your back door, is there?
Yeah, that's kind of like for me, the choice for Melbourne was, I initially wanted, because I finished my engineering from India back in 2000, and it's kind of like the standard path in India for at least for the engineering. Like you just kind of like after you finish your high school, you just kind of do medicine or you do engineering, and then after you do engineering, you just do your GRE, and then you go to US and do your MS. So I was kind of on the same path, and then 9/11 happened, and then it was very difficult for people to get student visas to US. So then I had to just look for the second options, or like what is my plan B, and there was like Canada or Australia, and then Melbourne was kind of pretty much like I had like some people who were in Melbourne at that point of time, so it was kind of like a easy choice for me. Like probably Melbourne or Sydney. I'm like, okay, Melbourne, because there's in terms of the immigrant community, there's like a huge amount of like diverse populations here, so it was kind of a choice for me at that stage. Yeah, so I never moved, never had to move. Yeah.
Ah, so did you come in like on a 457? Did someone sponsor you in, or what
No,
was
no,
the
I
story?
studied. I did my master's here. So I came in 2003, I finished my master's, and then I started working here. And I just like, yeah, I never, I never had to move. So lucky, I'm just like, sometimes I hate being in Melbourne when we have like it's so unpredictable weather. But overall, it's just kind of like, the quality of life and, the amount of food you can have, like the diversity is pretty good like here. So yeah.
Yeah, so true, so true. It is definitely a beautiful city. Spent a lot of time there. So tell me, how did you kind of end up becoming an MVP? You've been in MVP over 2 years now. How did you get nominated? How did you get to that point of becoming an MVP?
Uh, Becoming an MVP, I was kind of not because I started doing Dynamics in 2006, but back then there were not. I knew there was a MVP program, but I was kind of like because I was starting out the first 3 years, I did not have much confidence that I could do some sort of like because I was learning the product myself, and uh, right now Dynamics is moving at just such a fast pace. Back then it was kind of like on-prem, and then the releases were happening very slowly, so you had a lot of time to kind of learn the product and everything. But even then, because I was kind of like starting out on the product, so since I was a learner myself, I didn't have the confidence to blog about it. So I was kind of always listening and and kind of following the content, trying to Google Stack Overflow. I was just doing the route, and then as I built up the confidence, and I was actually working with Andre, Andre, another MVP. So I was working with him in Melbourne as well, and he was awarded MVP by no coincidence on April 1st. And like that's when it's like, oh, it's actually. But I'm just kind of like when I kind of heard that news, he was so excited, and I just kind of like it's like, okay, like we all kind of started in the same trajectory. We just learned the product. We have like kind of like the whole imposter syndrome, and like do you have any original content? So but it's kind of like so for me that proved that as long as you just continue to blog, it does you don't have to kind of do it to kind of achieve a target of MVP. As long as you kind of like share that knowledge, it this will kind of come. So that was kind of an impetus for me to blog openly, because earlier I used to blog only internal, like because we were working together and we had an internal blog. I used to blog internally. Now I didn't blog externally. So I was like, okay, so I should probably start blogging about this, because that could be useful to somebody as well. So I started blogging, and then I just kind of XRM toolbox happened. So I just kind of caught that bandwagon, and I was kind of like so let me just try to do all these useful tools with other people are doing. And like when Daryl Lebar came along, and I think the whole platform got a lot of it got a bit easier, I think, once Daryl Lebar got on board, because it was so much extensible, and it was a lot of things, the plumbing and everything was kind of taken care of by the product by XRM toolbox. So it was kind of the right time for me to jump into XRM toolbox. Then I was like then it just kind of like I just kind of ventured more into the development aspects of it, XRM toolbox and the Chrome tools, and blogging was happening on the side. And I think it just like it gradually, like, and I just got nominated and failed a couple of times. And then eventually I got it after like 3 nominations. Yeah, but it was like a very slow process for me, like 2.5, 3 years. Yeah.
Incredible, incredible. It's interesting how many people go through multiple nominations before they get in. I mean, I know the back end of the MVP program is in a, there's changes happening to that process. I know they've removed the self nomination process, and now you can only be nominated to become an MVP either by a Microsoft employee or a current standing MVP. So there are changes happening, in that program. Interesting times. So has it been worth becoming an MVP?
Yeah, definitely. I think more than the initial thing that was exciting for me was like, oh, access to all these free software. That was like the first thing. I was like, I never have to pay for software again. Like, I have all these.
Yeah, MSDN access, yeah. Azure credits, that type of thing, right?
Yeah. But that was kind of and then that was kind of like the first, like, the first month. You just kind of have this kind of like air of, like, like you just can't believe that this is happening, and you can actually see your name on the MVP, like, the page and everything, so that. And then you just have, like, you just kind of all these free software. But eventually, after like first couple of months, I just kind of like I just got this notion that it's just kind of not all these freebies and all these kind of name recognition and Googleability and everything. It's just all these access to these people, like, so if I have some questions, I can ask someone informally, like, in Skype or Teams, or send them an email. And this kind of like, just emailing the product team directly, getting to kind of look into what they are working on, and kind of like giving them feedback on what kind of worked for you and what are kind of like your suggestions. That's get that kind of like, the level of access. That's what I think is the most kind of like, valuable thing for me in the MVP community, the people, and then this kind of like this insight into what Microsoft is doing, and the thought that they are really listening to you. If you have some feedback, they actually do listen to you, and eventually when it makes it into the releases, you just kind of feel proud that, like, I had something to contribute to that.
So kind of what's your ninja skills? What's the area that you, out of all the product suite, do you feel like you know or have the most depth of knowledge? What is it? A particular first party application? Is it something on the Power Platform level? Where do you feel like your ninja skills sit?
But I think if you just take the topic as Dynamics 365, or like, or Power Platform as it is, I just really, like, feel that it's hard to be an expert in any one particular, like, area. So I just have like I can kind of learn, like, what is happening on the. So I don't really have like in regarding like in and out of a particular feature. I don't really have like that kind of expert knowledge, I think. But if you just walk out of the Dynamics 365 platform, I can say that in terms of my like Chrome skills, like, I'm pretty much good in, like, if I hit some brick wall and it's kind of due to some JavaScript issue in Dynamics, I can pretty much like figure it out just using Chrome. So I would say like I'm a ninja in Chrome debugging. But inside the whole Power Platform and Dynamics 365 stuff, I'm kind of like I can learn it. I can just kind of like, just kind of like understand what is happening. But I wouldn't say that I'm an expert in any one particular area in Dynamics, because it's just also evolving so fast. So every week there is some new release, or every week there's a new addition. Especially they had like some playbook like announced like a couple of weeks back, and still haven't explored it. So I think it's just evolving so fast, so it's becoming very hard to be like focused on one particular area.
Yeah, agreed. Oh no, I just don't think you can nowadays. I think you, to a degree, that you do need to create focus and niche down to, because the product has become so big. It's hard to be a guru across all areas. Anyhow, tell me about kind of tools that you commonly use. You obviously, you've got the debugger function, you've got your own tool set in Chrome. What are the other kind of go-to tools that, let's say, in the last month, have you definitely used as part of a Dynamics project?
I pretty much say the XRM toolbox, that's a given, because that will be the first tool I will open. And LinkPad. Actually, I use LinkPad and XRM toolbox quite heavily, because I will run some small snippets to test out some functionality. Like, I just want to get the list of the plugins, or because there might not be any sort of like, um, any sort of code or kind of a snippet that you can run on the fly. I believe there is an extension on XRM toolbox that allows you to do that. I think it's called Code Now or something like that. I don't remember the exact name of the. It's by another MVP as well. So before that, there was no tool that can easily allow you to connect to Dynamics and then run some arbitrary script against it using the SDK. So LinkPad I use pretty heavily. LinkPad and XRM toolbox, that's pretty much every single day. And then Chrome DevTools I just use pretty much every day. And obviously my own extension, I just use, like, every time I just go to this farm and I want to see the schema name for this, or I just want to see all the sections, I just use that one. So those are kind of like and Fiddler. And yeah, Fiddler, sometimes I'll use Fiddler because because I want to do some sort of, I'm in the process of developing the script, and I just want to kind of use the local script instead of the server side script. So I just use predominantly heavily developer oriented tools. Yeah. And Notepad++, I just left out one tool, Notepad++. It's a free tool and it's not a developer oriented tool, but yeah, it's very useful for XML and yeah.
Yeah, agreed. I think I've had it installed on my computer now for about the last 6 years. It's one of the first things I install, Notepad++. Very good app, very good. Okay, so tell us about kind of what has kind of been the project that you've been on that kind of sticks in your mind as probably one of your most successful projects you've ever done.
Most successful projects, that would be probably like, because we did one of the, when I was working with Andre, we did one of the first CRM online projects in that company. So that was kind of a learning experience for me, because I had pretty much worked on the on-prem stuff in the past, and it was comfortable back then in the on-prem. You are kind of always one version behind, so you had that familiarity of kind of like, oh, you have worked in the past, or it's not that different. But the fact that it's online, and I think it was kind of shocking for me to know at that point of time that even the reports you have to develop, you can't really use what, like the SQL statements and everything. You have to do a fetch XML report, and you don't have the capability to report of auditing, things like that. I was kind of like, I was thinking that online means just it's all the on-prem capabilities, just it's hosted on the cloud. But I just found out that project that is not the case. There are some limitations and there are some performance consideration. The whole kind of like the development, you have the sandbox mode and the full mode. All that I was kind of learning as I go along. In the end, I guess it was like a good project for me to learn how to develop against CRM online. And now I just develop only in CRM online, no on-prem projects at all. So that was kind of like a good launching pad. So I'd say that was a successful project. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. What about people in the community? What kind of people have kind of influenced you across your career? Not necessarily even in dynamics, but just been influenced to you as an individual across your career.
I was not very tech oriented before I actually started working on the industry. So my kind of just my interaction with people has been like only on the dynamic space. I was kind of like, I was not following, because I came to Australia only 2003, and I did my masters. And I was not as a student, it's really hard to kind of like get anything time for anything else apart from just like doing an assignment. So I was not very very kind of active in that area. But once I actually started working in dynamics, I like Ronald Lemon and Scott Duro and Jason Latimer, and then Tangy. So pretty much all the usual suspects. Kind of like the kind of information they share every time you Google, the more you kind of hit the same blog post or the same people again and again. You just kind of like you're shaped by their kind of like the passion, or you kind of like some of that their passion kind of sticks onto you. Like how they kind of like how they are so passionate about some of the areas. For example, like every time I just see the Git, I can see like how many kind of check-ins, like all the XRM toolbox people are actually doing every single day, and that kind of commitment and that kind of passion for like doing it almost for free. It's kind of like so that kind of sets a benchmark, and you kind of like you just okay, you just kind of are inspired by it, and you kind of like that drives you to perform more, to kind of like meet that standard. Yeah.
Have you travelled much for work or just in life in general? Where's been the number one place you've been and visited?
I haven't been like before, like coming here. I haven't been to a lot of places, but once I came here, I've been to most of Southeast Asia. I've been to like Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand. I went to Japan, and then I went to Hong Kong probably like maybe like 2 months back. So New Zealand, I would say like is my favorite because just the drives are so amazing. Just driving from Christchurch to Queenstown, just the flat roads and like mountain, and like there's no one inside. It's just like such a nice place to drive. Yeah. I just went to North Island once. I went to South Island. I just want to go there again, but yeah, I just wait. I'm just waiting for the right time to go. Just like yeah, just accumulate enough leave, and then yeah.
Tell me a bit about what are you typically doing from a contribution to the community? You've got your blog, you've got your the Chrome extension LevelUp. What else do you do? Do you do any like speaking? Are you involved in user groups? What else are you doing?
I just predominantly I the most I would say is like I just do the the blog post, and that is my primary area. And then second will be just the tools. Sometimes I will just I have some ideas for tools from time to time, and sometimes I just do the tools and I just want to finish it up, and then I want to deploy it, I want to release it. And sometimes I just feel that I haven't spent enough time to kind of because the whole tool, just the whole open source thing is just not developing and releasing the tools to the community. It's also kind of promoting it and developing the documentation, but that's not the exciting part. That's the exciting part is just seeing it, seeing it working and seeing it, just releasing it, and then you finally publish it, and it's like, okay, that's done. But it's not done. Sometimes I feel just go the full cycle and kind of make it more accessible and do the documentation. That's I haven't done that, I think, for some of the tools, because some of the tools are not even known, I think, because I had only one tweet about it, and I just kind of left it as such. So uh, I just do, sometimes I do the user groups, because the user groups happen usually in the evening, and so, it's good. I just find it hard to do it on a very regular basis, because the blogging and code and everything is just, you can kind of uh, extend it over weeks, because sometimes I will try and fail, it'll happen over cycles for several weeks, and then finally I'll get it, and then I'll release it. But the part of releasing it just takes me like half an hour or 1 hour to write a blog post, but just to get that idea and kind of develop it over weeks, that probably takes weeks. So it's a very slow process. So yeah, that's that these are two my I just I initially did a lot of answering the forum questions, but I haven't been kind of I haven't been logging into the forums recently. So blogging and yeah, it's just pretty much my areas. Yeah.
Do you ever get kind of requests, from people asking to help contribute to your tools, or with new tool ideas, or just giving you feedback in general about your tools? How much kind of engagement or acknowledgement do you get back from people using what you've created?
For the Chrome extension, I do get a lot of comments about it's useful. And sometimes because when there is an update, there was a case where it was not working on the new update, or they just, it's not working on the UCI interface. So you do get a mixture of support requests, and then you get some compliments about the tool. And I think the biggest one, not just for me, it's for the whole XRM toolbox community, when they added the whole XRM toolbox and ribbon workbench into the official MS docs. That was kind of there's a big kudos to the community to kind of that the Microsoft actually recognizes this effort, and they added it as an official way to kind of if you want to edit fetch XML, go to fetch XML builder and ribbon workbench and everything. So it's kind of that's kind of a positive feedback that you get. But yeah, the most of the comments I get are and I do use my GitHub repository for kind of if there is some issue, they just log it in, and I just work on it to kind of fix the issue or kind of add the feature. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you find that that Chrome does a release and it breaks your product at all? Do you ever have issues with that?
Luckily, not so far. It's kind of I never had any issue with they haven't delisted my thing, or because I tried to submit the same extension to Firefox, and they rejected it. So um, yeah, because apparently the way it is doing it, Firefox does not like. But that's how pretty much everyone does it. For if you ever downloaded an ad blocking extension, they just inject a script on your page, and that's how they block the ads. So that's kind of the standard technique, and it's also open source. So I don't know why Firefox does not like it. But yeah, Chrome has not caused any issues so far. I've been lucky to kind of chug along for so many downloads. Yeah.
Oh, so good, so good. It's definitely my browser of choice, being that, this recording software that we're using today, everything works only in Chrome, and, that recording type audio function. So, yeah, good choice, good choice. Okay, we're going to wrap up. We're coming close to half an hour now, but just I have always some random end questions to wrap up with that kind of put you on the spot. They'll be weird, they'll be wacky. You don't need to kind of be on point with any of them. But first of all, wine or beer?
Why no beer?
Yeah, which would you prefer, wine or beer? Or neither?
Why no beer? I just heard it as why no beer. All right, why no beer is beer. Yeah.
Beer? Beer?
Yeah, beer. Yeah, beer.
So your shout at next summit.
Uh, after this will be my first submit, even though I went through my first renewal cycle. Hopefully, I can make it this time.
Oh man, you got to be there. It's an amazing event. Well worth it. Well worth it.
Yeah, I just want to stay away from any kind of online, like, Twitter or anything, because I just kind of like, I'm missing out on all this.
Yeah, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. Cats or dogs?
Dogs, definitely.
Dogs. Why?
I don't know. It's just kind of the same thing, right? Because cats, I don't know, they just run towards you and try to lick you or anything. I'm not sure. I haven't seen like, but dogs are kind of like same thing. They're just so happy to see you, and they're like so. I don't know. They just kind of like they just love you and like unconditionally, and yeah.
Can you describe your perfect day?
Describe my perfect day. In Melbourne, that will be just a sunny day. Any regular sunny day is a perfect day for me, and we don't get that many in Melbourne.
Oh, come on, you get more than that. I've been to Melbourne. There's been lots of fine days. Beautiful on the river, isn't it, on a sunny day?
Yeah, it's like 9 to 9:30 fine day, and by 1:30 it's like a thunderstorm. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm just so unpredictable.
So true. What's the best purchase you've made under $100?
Best purchase. I just say probably it's not like a physical thing, but like just the softwares, I guess, like ReSharper and LinkPad. They're kind of like, yeah, they're just like indispensable. But I haven't kind of like any. It's kind of like anything that I purchase that is kind of like cool and like I like. It's just always over $100. So anything that is less than that is just usually the softwares and yeah, the subscriptions and everything. Yeah.
Awesome. So, which do you prefer, movies or playing games?
Movies.
Yeah. What's your
Movies,
favorite
yeah.
movie of all time?
Favorite movie? I can't say. I would say like Dark Knight, probably. Yeah. I pretty much watch like a lot of. I just because I'm like living so far away from the city. I just nothing much in the train to do apart from just kind of reading articles and watching movies and YouTube. So I do watch like quite a lot of. And then Netflix is pretty much now these days it's like almost free. It's not even that much expensive, and you have plenty of bad data on the phone. So I do watch it, but yeah, Dark Knight is like it's kind of like it's a mainstream movie plus it's kind of like a bit deep. So I do like the Dark Knight, yeah.
Nice, nice. Natraj, it's been great talking to you. Thanks for coming on the show. If people want to connect with you online, where can they find you?
My Twitter handle is RAJYRAMAN. That's pretty much my primary communication method. And I also have my blog at dreamingincrm.com.
Hey, thanks for listening. I recommend checking out LevelUp. It's an amazing Chrome extension. Especially check out God Mode. Phenomenal. Full show notes can be found at nz365guy.com/49. Thanks for listening, and hey, see you next time.